In the distant reaches of space lies Axor, a vibrant yet traditional planet. Human emissary Jack Monroe's diplomatic mission faces turmoil when he meets Kira, a daring axin woman seeking change. As they navigate their blossoming love amid rising tensions, their choices ignite profound ethical dilemmas. Can love survive when the fate of two worlds hangs in the balance? Don't forget to subscribe. 91% of viewers enjoy our content but forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with our daily sci-fi stories and support a dedicated team of storytellers and content creators who rely on this as their livelihood. The sleek starship descended through the swirling clouds of Axor, its metallic hull gleaming under the light of twin suns. The ship sliced through the atmosphere, cutting a path between vibrant hues of cerulean and emerald, each layered stripe a reflection of the planet's diverse biomes. Below, the valleys were rich with flora, the colors exploding in a riotous tapestry that ebbed and flowed like an artist's palette. As the craft breached the cloud cover, a bustling city emerged, its alien architecture both magnificent and intricate, spiraling upward like the roots of great trees reaching for the light. Towers twisted and turned, their surfaces mirroring the environment, pulsating with bioluminescent hues that seemed to breathe. Inside the vessel's cabin, Jack Monroe stood straight, heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The ship's doors opened with a soft hiss, releasing a breeze that carried the faint scent of flowering plants, sweet yet earthy. Jack took a moment to gather himself, breathing in the unfamiliar air, laced with a hint of ozone and promise. As he stepped onto the vibrant soil, his boots sank slightly into the soft, moss-like terrain, which quivered in response, as if welcoming him to this alien world. His gaze shifted, drawn to the towering axin beings that lined the platform before him. They stood tall, their skin shimmering like polished gemstones under the twin suns, adorned with intricate markings that painted narratives of their ancient heritage. Each symbol seemed alive, shifting and glimmering as they moved, a tapestry of their history intertwined with the very essence of Axor. "Welcome, Emissary Monroe," boomed a deep voice from one of the axins, his striking features framed by the unnatural beauty of the landscape. This one, named Durek, bore an aura of authority. His pronounced jaw and fierce countenance communicated a strength as palpable as the ground beneath Jack's feet. "We await your words with anticipation." Jack adjusted his diplomatic badge, its metallic surface reflecting the awe he felt at being in the presence of such an advanced and mysterious species. "Thank you for your warm welcome. I hope our discussions can pave the way for a brighter future between our peoples." Yet, as he spoke, his eyes wandered, captivated by a figure standing slightly apart from the formal reception, Kira, a young axin woman. Her piercing emerald eyes shone with defiance, a flicker of fire against the cool serenity of her surroundings. Kira's presence was magnetic, her skin, a shade of deep amethyst accented by swirling patterns of silver, seemed to echo the stars that glittered above them. She exuded a bold spirit, her slender form standing with an unwavering posture that revealed both confidence and the weight of her responsibilities. "You come to change us?" she asked, stepping forward, her voice steady yet vibrant. "Or to preserve the status quo?" Jack felt an invisible thread pulling between them, a connection that defied the vastness of their disparate cultures. "Neither. I want us to grow, to evolve. Together." The words slipped from his lips, genuine and raw. But in a heartbeat, the tension in the air intensified, reverberating with unspoken truths. Kira regarded him, skepticism flashing momentarily in her eyes before she softened. There was a spark, a quiet revolution simmering beneath the surface of her demeanor. "You speak of evolution, but change is often met with resistance." Days morphed into weeks, each sunrise over Axor building an unbreakable bond between Jack and Kira. Every meeting was tinged with electric anticipation, their discussions oscillating between laughter and heated debates, reflecting their unraveling emotions. The vibrant planet, with its lush, luminescent forests and crystal-clear rivers, became their backdrop, a universe away from the scrutiny of the Axin Council and their rigid traditions. In the grand halls of the Axin Council chamber, Jack sat among the statuesque Axins, their skin resembling multi-hued gemstones that sparkled like the very stars Jack had often gazed at from the comfort of his ship. The council elders wore majestic robes, each thread meticulously woven to reflect their lineage, their presence demanding respect. Jack felt small in the midst of their authoritative air, yet he was fueled by a burning determination to advocate for the changes he knew were crucial. Emissary Monroe, an elder with long braided silver hair, spoke, his voice rippling through the tense atmosphere. Your presence here suggests an insistence on change. But do you not understand? The Axin way is sacred. The integration of foreign ideas may lead to our downfall. Jack met the elder's gaze, steady and sure. With all due respect, the universe doesn't pause for sanctity, nor does it shy away from evolution. If your people refuse to adapt, Axor risks becoming not just obsolete, but a memory lost in the fabric of space. Kira sat beside him, her expression a mixture of pride and worry. When Jack spoke of evolving identities, her heart raced, thoughts tangled between tradition and the gnawing desire for transformation. Each debate left her introspection deeper, the innate push and pull between duty to her lineage and the lure of connection to Jack evident in her eyes. During a private moment later, Kira turned to Jack, her brow knotted in thought, shadows of doubt shrouding her bright spirit. You have to understand, my people are afraid of change. They see it as losing our identity. Her voice quivered with the weight of her position. And what if that identity is holding you back? Jack challenged gently, searching her gaze for understanding. We're faced with a choice: adapt or face extinction. Look around, Kira. The universe is changing, and we cannot stand still. Her frustration rose, but so did her hope. Kira clutched the edge of her sleeve, a gesture of vulnerability amidst their passionate debates. I feel the change too, she admitted, but you don't understand the sacrifices I'd have to make, my family. My place among my people. I'm with you, Kira, Jack said, his voice a soothing balm against her turmoil. He reached for her hand, fingers brushing softly against her cool skin, the contact igniting an unexpected surge of warmth. Let's stand together. If we fight for what we believe, perhaps we can change their hearts. The weight of his promise lingered in the air, encapsulating their growing bond. The evenings began to transform. In the shadow of the ancient citadel, an ethereal glow from the bioluminescent plants twinkled, painting a magical canvas around them. Their clandestine meetings became sacred rituals, filled with furtive whispers and shared dreams of a future unmarred by the chains of tradition. Kira took a deep breath, her emerald eyes glistening as she spoke. What if we devote ourselves to finding a middle ground? A way to guide my people without forcing change upon them? Yes. Jack grinned, excitement bubbling within. Let's create a dialogue. Knowledge is the antidote to fear. If we share stories, values, and aspirations, perhaps I can illuminate a path they cannot see, a path to coexistence. Their hearts brimmed with anticipation, even as an undercurrent of dread loomed in the distance. The once steady rhythm of their connection was now accompanied by a creeping anxiety as the political landscape of Axor shifted ominously. Rumors of dissent floated through the grandeur of council halls. Whispers of a brewing war between adjacent alliances swirled like a tempest gathering strength. Every day brought new tensions and uncertainties, the air thick with suspicion and division. Kira could feel her father's disapproval growing, his position as a council leader rendering him an impenetrable fortress of tradition that seemed eager to exclude Jack from any acceptance. "You're risking everything," Kira said during one of their secret gatherings, her voice barely above a whisper as she traced the patterns of his palm, a gesture of unity that both grounded and terrified her. "If my father discovers us." "I know the stakes, Kira," Jack replied, maintaining his composure regardless of the storm of fear thrumming through him. "But it feels right." "You feel right." Just as Kira was about to respond, a shadow fell across their hidden glade, a dissonant echo in their vibrant world. An unseen entity or force loomed behind them, sending chills skirting down their spines. Kira's heart raced faster than the drums of her ancestors, as she instinctively pulled away her hand, bolstering her defenses. "Perhaps we should be cautious," Jack offered, scanning the surroundings. Axor's famed wildlife, vibrant yet surreal, glimmered in the dusk. "We cannot let fear dictate our actions." Determined, Kira met Jack's gaze with a fierce intensity. "Together, we'll confront whatever may come. But I won't betray you if my father's wrath descends upon us. I pledge to protect what we are building." Jack smiled, though the bond was layered with uncertainty. The complexities of their interwoven fates danced around them, wrapping them in a warmth that felt both exhilarating and tenuous. Their continued meetings grew in urgency as Axor's political landscape became more volatile. News of cloaked ships patrolling the skies whirled through the air, ominous shadows dancing beneath the planet's twin suns. Each passing day, Kira felt the weight of tradition pulling her down, an ever-tightening noose threatening to shatter their fragile connection. One evening, as they met beneath the great Yavi tree, an ancient giant pulsating softly with a life of its own, its roots sprawling like tendrils weaving through time, Kira broke the tenuous silence. "Jack, what if we were to find a visual narrative, something potent enough to illustrate our ambitions to my people? Something that encapsulates the beauty of our bond?" "I think that's a brilliant idea," Jack replied, a spark igniting within him. "Maybe we can gather stories from both our worlds, the wisdom of the axin, the exploration of humanity, and weave them into a tapestry, showcasing the power of unity." Kira nodded enthusiastically, her heart swelling with pride at their shared creativity. "We would create a living mural, an immersive experience. More than words, it would be feelings." The intensity behind their words grew as they envisioned what that could mean. In the tranquil embrace of Axor's twilight, where two suns dipped low and painted the sky in hues of gold and deep crimson, Jack and Kira found solace in their secret meetings. Hidden away from the tormented eyes of the council, they convened beneath the sprawling branches of the Zalthar tree, which towered over them like a silent guardian. Its luminescent leaves shimmered under the soft light, casting playful shadows around them. "You're risking everything," Kira said, her voice barely above a whisper, as her delicate fingers traced the intricate patterns on the back of Jack's hand. There was a raw intensity in her emerald eyes, reflecting both fear and yearning. "If my father discovers this, it could ruin you, as everything we've built." Jack's heart raced with the knowledge of their precarious situation, yet he felt a warmth emanating from her touch, a connection that defied the looming tensions. "I know the stakes, Kira," he replied, his voice steady despite the tempest roaring in his heart. "But it feels right." "You feel right. Our dreams should not be shackled by old fears." Kira searched his gaze, her resolve flickering like the bioluminescent creatures of Axor's night. "We are two worlds colliding," she murmured, "but what if the impact tears us apart?" A soft breeze swayed the branches above, as if nature itself was holding its breath, waiting for their answer. "It's about building a bridge, not a wall," Jack urged, drawing her closer. The thrum of their hearts echoed amid the symphony of alien crickets, and in that intimate moment, the weight of space and time seemed to dissolve. They began to share whispered dreams of a future where Axor and Earth could intertwine, growing vibrant and rich with diversity. However, shadows crept near, the political tides shifted unpredictably, and whispers of war began to float through the halls of the ancient citadel. Days passed, and every council meeting felt heavier. Jack often felt the piercing stares of skeptics, his diplomatic mission now laden with suspicion. On one occasion, as he entered the Grand Hall, and came face to face with formidable silhouettes clad in traditional garb, he sensed the tension before he even spoke. The air hung thick with anticipation, and he felt like a foreigner in a land that was both captivating and hostile. "The Council must consider the implications of our alliance," one elder declared, his voice booming across the polished chamber. "Are we to allow a human, your emissary, to corrupt our way of life? What assurance do we have that he does not seek our downfall?" "Change is inevitable," Kira interjected, her tone defiant, yet sorrow etched across her features. "We would be foolish to dismiss the knowledge and power he brings. Jack has shown us visions of unity, yet you sit there blinded by fear." Her voice crescendoed, echoing sharply against the cold stone walls. The council responded with an uproar, their arguments colliding like meteors in the dark expanse of space. Jack clenched his fists, the tension almost palpable in the frigid air of the chamber. It was clear that alliances were being forged and broken, the very fabric of their diplomacy strained to the limit. Amidst the chaos, Kira reached for his hand, her touch a reassuring balm. "We must act decisively," she whispered fiercely. "Let us present them with evidence, show them the possibilities of cooperation. My father may be rigid, but the heart of Axor beats stronger than tradition." Days passed as they collaborated behind closed doors, gathering ancient texts outlining the histories of their peoples, evidence of symbiosis rather than subjugation. Kira's passion ignited the air around them, and Jack found himself drawn deeper into her world, learning the legends that had once seemed so foreign. He marveled at the tales depicting the Axin's spiritual connection to their planet, a bond transcending time and space. However, that same passion was an ember that could easily ignite a blaze. During a clandestine meeting to finalize their preparations, dark clouds loomed. "Kira, we must be careful," Jack urged, his voice low. "The council is watching. If they sense we're undermining their authority, they will never understand," she interjected, a fire igniting in her eyes. "They are so bound to the past. Our future depends on our courage." Outside, the wind howled as if it were echoing Kira's sentiments, ruffling the leaves around them. Underneath the azure skies, tensions reached a breaking point during the assembly. Kira's father, a seasoned chieftain with a mane of silver hair and burnished, dark skin, stormed to the forefront, his presence commanding immediate attention. His piercing gaze swept the assembly, landing heavily on Jack. "You, human," he spat, his voice like thunder. "You would bring devastation to our people with your cunning promises. You dare to taint our sacred traditions?" Kira stood, blood rushing in her veins. "Father, it is you who is blind. Jack represents change, the very hope we need." The chamber erupted, chaos roaring like a wild beast. The council's anger reverberated off the walls, echoing around them like distant artillery fire, the pressure mounting in Jack's chest as allies turned against each other. Jack felt the ground shift beneath him, their budding love becoming a weapon. "This has to stop," Kira shouted over the din. "If you'll not accept him, then you must accept me as well. I will not be forced into a life devoid of love." Her defiance rang with a gravity that demanded silence. In that moment, the noise subdued, the chambers drawing breath, but only for an instant. Jack stepped forward, juxtaposing Kira's fierce stance with his own calm demeanor. "All I can offer is the truth, and the promise of a future where we thrive together. The cosmos is watching us. His voice swelled, carrying across the divided crowd, stirring deep within the hearts of others. They craved change too, though fear held them shackled. Just as the council buzzed with disbelief and unresolved conflict, tensions frayed at the edges. It was evident Kira's father was not willing to relent, and yet those loyal to the legacy of Axor began to murmur, caught in the fervor of a potential alliance. A fissure was opening, fractured but alive, much like their hopes. As discussions ebbed and surged like an ocean tide, the atmosphere shifted dramatically, signaling that the moment of reckoning had arrived. Jack and Kira exchanged a glance that seethed with unspoken knowledge. What lay ahead was a treacherous path riddled with uncertainty. Then, the unexpected happened. A loud crash echoed through the hall as an emissary from a distant planet arrived. Chaos erupted within the Grand Assembly Hall, a cacophony of voices rising to a fever pitch, echoing against the stone walls that had stood for centuries. Kira's father, Kale, the esteemed leader of the Axin Council, stood at the forefront, fury emanating from his commanding presence. His sharp, angular features were twisted in anger, his deep sapphire skin contrasting starkly with the vibrant amber glow of the council's candles. "You would bring a human into our midst?" he bellowed, his voice slicing through the tumult like a blade. The council members, draped in ceremonial robes adorned with flowing symbols of their lineage, murmured amongst themselves, anxiety etched across their faces. "He taints our sacred traditions." A shiver ran down Jack's spine as he processed the reality of the condemnation hurled at him. For him, the lofty hopes of unity and understanding had felt palpable, but now they shattered like fragile glass against the harsh edges of positioned power. All he'd ever wanted was to foster a kinship between two worlds, but the bitter taste of fear brimmed around him. A fear that linked Kira's people to their rooted customs, unwavering even in the face of progress. Kira, standing resolute beside Jack, felt her heart pound within her chest. In that moment, she became a symbol of defiance against the waves of her culture's resistance. She stepped forward, her emerald eyes blazing with fierce determination, slicing through the turmoil like a beacon of hope. "Father, it is you who is blind," she cried, her voice a passionate melody contrasting the harshness of the assembly. "Jack represents change, the very hope we need." The gaunt faces surrounding her shifted, their eyes flickering between her and the emissary, sensing the tectonic shift of allegiances. With Kira's words sparked like embers, Jack stood taller, his own fear melding into an unyielding resolve. "I do not seek to erase your traditions," he interjected, his tone steady despite the tremors of anxiety. "I wish to build a future where those traditions can coexist with the new, where love prevails over the fear of change." The air thickened with tension, swirling like a storm poised to unleash its fury. Voices clashed passionately, some rallying behind Kira, others charged by the sanctity of tradition fueling their fiery opposition. Jack's thoughts raced, wondering if their love had inadvertently become a weapon, a chisel striking against the bedrock of ancestral beliefs. Suddenly, Kale raised a hand, grounding the crowd with an intensity that turned the room silent. "To accept him is to forsake everything we are. Our customs, our stories. All will be lost in this foolish desire for unity." His tone turned icy, reverberating through the air with the chill of a dying star. Kira felt her legs tremble, yet she pushed against the tide, stepping closer to Jack, her hand finding his. "If you won't accept him," she declared, her voice quaking with emotion, "then you must accept me as well. I will not be forced into a life devoid of love, devoid of choice." As the council advanced toward Jack, a coalition formed with wary stares and half-concealed hostility. In that profoundly charged moment, thoughts flooded Jack's mind, visions of love, unity, and possibility intertwining with a sense of impending doom. The faces of Kira's council members twisted into shadows of resistance, and the walls of the chamber felt like they were closing in. Fear gripped him, but deep within, determination flickered like an undying star. "Please," Kira implored, tears glistening in her eyes, reflecting the brightness of the chamber lights. "I ask you to look deeper. We represent the future. If you cannot recognize that, then you risk losing the very essence of what it means to be Axin." A long silence stretched between Kira's words and Kale's response, like the calm before a galactic storm. Yet, as murmurs of dissent grew louder, the palpable cracks in tradition surged forward. The council was trapped in an intricate web spun from desire, fear, and legacy, struggling to maintain a balance that felt increasingly fragile. Suddenly, a council member, an elderly Axin named Thorn, emerged with an unexpected gravity. His skin wrinkled like ancient bark, yet his eyes held a fierce luminosity piercing through the turmoil. "Change is as ancient as our race," he interjected, his voice steady, gaining the room's attention. "It has carved our history, shaped us into who we are. To fight against it is to fight against the very winds that have carried us across the cosmos." The assembly hushed, the weight of Thorn's words hanging in the air, a thin thread of possibility stitching through this tapestry of conflict. Kira took a breath, her heart racing as she felt the shift in the atmosphere. Hope surged within her like a tide breaking against the shore, as Jack met her gaze with certainty that transcended words. But Kale's fury was not quelled. "You speak of change, Thorn, as if it is without consequence," he thundered, his voice booming as if to drown out any dissent. "What of our ancestry, our history? To embrace the foreign is to turn away from everything we hold sacred." Jack, feeling the winds of battle blow against him, wrestled with the impulse to recoil under the weight of their scrutiny. But instead, he employed the art of diplomacy, weaving a narrative spun from earnestness. "If your ancestors never ventured beyond their stars, you would not be here today," Jack said, locking his gaze on Kale, a flicker of defiance in his glare. "I stand before you not just as a human but as a kindred soul, one who believes that love and understanding can coexist with tradition, creating something far richer than division." In the crowd, a stir unfolded, as whispers began weaving questions, doubts, and contemplations. Kira squeezed Jack's hand tighter, feeling the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins, feeding off his strength. But the moment was fragile, teetering on the brink of disaster. "Enough," Kale roared, his voice booming, casually dismissing the assembly. "Your words are sweet like honey, but I do not trust the taste of poison." With that, he turned away, ordering the council to disperse. The assembly dissolved into a wave of discontented murmurs, uncertainty rippling across the chamber. As the members scattered like stars dimmed by the clouds of an approaching storm, Jack felt the ground shift beneath him. Kira stepped forward, urgency now thrumming through her. "We can't stop now, Jack. We can't let this end," she insisted, desperation pulling in her voice. Jack nodded, but as the echoes of defeated murmurs cascaded around them, he felt the gnawing sting of reality. The atmosphere of the glade buzzed with a vibrant energy that mirrored Kira's tumultuous emotions. Sunlight filtered through the canopy of lush foliage, casting dappled shadows on the fertile ground where the sacred spirit of Axor thrived. Colors burst forth in rich hues, violets, deep blues, and glimmering golds, that seemed to celebrate the miracle of life being nurtured within Kira. Yet within this beauty lay the weight of a monumental reveal, one that could shatter, change, or unite the very world they lived in. Kira turned her gaze toward the heavens, where two suns hung, incandescent and glorious, each symbolizing a facet of her legacy and the enormity of her decisions. She took a deep breath, letting the fragrant air fill her lungs. In this moment, she was not just an axin. She was a mother, a revolutionary, and a heart-bound partner. How could she convey the magnitude of what this child meant, not only to her and Jack but to both their peoples? "Jack," she began, her voice trembling with both uncertainty and hope. "I know what we have, this bond, this dream, it's audacious. Our love, our child, could change everything. But will they accept her? Will they ever accept us?" Jack's expression softened, determination mingled with an almost childlike wonder. "Kira, this child's existence will be the embodiment of our choice to fight for unity. A living testament that love can transcend boundaries. We will help them see." "See what?" Kira pressed, her emerald eyes searching his. "That a human and an axin can create life together? What if they see our child as a symbol of betrayal?" Jack stepped closer, his fingers intertwining with hers, the warmth of their hands grounding them both. "Then we will show them. We will be her protectors and her teachers. We won't let fear guide our decisions. Instead, let our daughter be a bridge. We will cultivate understanding where there is division." Kira leaned into him, feeling the strength of his conviction seep into her skin. "But what if it's all too much?" Her voice faltered as doubt threatened to wash over her, encroaching like shadows at dusk. "What if they try to take her from us?" She could feel the knot tightening in her stomach as the weight of her worries settled in. Jack's gaze grew fierce as he brushed his thumb across her knuckles, as if trying to chase away every shadow of fear. "No one will take our daughter from us, Kira. We will protect her with everything we have. Together, we are stronger than any tradition or prejudice that dares to challenge us." They shared a long embrace in the midst of living splendor, the world around them pausing to honor their inseparable bond. Whispers of the trees echoed a promise, the winds of Axor seemed to sweep away doubt, and together they felt the energy of possibilities crackling in the air. Days morphed into weeks as Kira's pregnancy progressed continually, each milestone celebrated under the glorious embrace of twin suns. Yet, not all days were filled with warmth. Storm clouds gathered not only in the sky, but also among the Axin Council, restless with fear and suspicion. The news of Kira's condition had spread like wildfire, igniting old fears of foreign influence and discontent among the more conservative factions. One night, Kira found herself standing in their shared quarters, a gentle breeze swirling in through the open window. Jack was poring over a holographic display, charts and heated messages from the council flickering like fireflies in the dim light. "Jack," Kira said, her voice breaking through the tension, "we can't hide her forever." He glanced up, concern etching his brow. "You know we're not hiding her. We're preparing to face them. I will address the council again tomorrow." "Jack," she pleaded, stepping closer. "We need to be careful. There are those who want to see us fail. My father, he's gathering supporters, bolder and fiercer than before. They see our union as a threat, and with a child." Jack stood abruptly, eyes blazing with the heat of their situation. "They're afraid, Kira, and fear breeds hostility. If they see her and understand her, they may be able to shed those fears. It's worth the risk." Fingers entwined tightly, they ventured into the night, leaving behind a dimly lit sanctuary. The moon was radiant, casting a silver hue over the landscape, framing their path as they took refuge in the serenity of the glade that had witnessed the budding of their hopes. But as dusk fell, the horizon painted in hues of orange and purple, they heard it, a distant rumble of discontent, the voice of the Axin people rising against the change they feared. Kira halted, heart racing as they climbed a small incline, peering down into the heart of a gathering taking place beneath the stars. The council had begun convening in an open arena, shadows of imposing stone structures looming ominously under the twilight sky. Even from a distance, Kira could feel the tension in the air, a mixture of hostility and fervent conviction, an energy that coursed through her veins with every heartbeat. Furtively, Jack grasped her arm, anchoring her against the rising swell of uncertainty. "We stay close," he whispered, hidden by the foliage. "You are not alone. You have me." Before Kira could respond, the assembly erupted in fervent voices led by her father, a towering figure commanding respect and fear. "To embrace change is to forsake our identity," he thundered, his tone rich with fervor, catching the attention of all present. "This child is not an emblem of hope but an abomination. We must not allow the jagged lines between us to blur any further." The words stabbed Kira as if they were arrows aimed directly at her heart. The crowd murmured in agreement, their voices surging like powerful tides upon the shores of their cause. "Do they not see?" she whispered, a lump forming in her throat. "Do they not understand the strength that lies in unity?" Jack turned to her, eyes gleaming with an unyielding spirit. "This will change, Kira. There will be a turning point. We will make them understand what it means to love across boundaries. And the answer isn't in their past or traditions, but in our daughter's future." With hearts pounding, they argued in murmurs, crafting plans for how to present the truth of their bond and of their daughter to the council. Hours later, emboldened by the private hellos exchanged beneath the moons, Jack and Kira stood among the leaders of both peoples. Kira's heart raced as she let courage fuel her voice. "We're here tonight not to confront your fears but to compel understanding," she proclaimed as the murmurs began to quiet. "This child, the first of her kind, will be the catalyst for a new dawn. She is the embodiment of hope." The assembly fell hushed, whispers abating as Kira revealed her presence before them, the swell of anticipation mingling with an undercurrent of dissent. Jack took her hand, the solid presence grounding them both as Kira summoned the strength from the core of her being. "I stand before you as a mother, as an axin. My child carries a legacy of both worlds, merging humanity and axin tradition. We can steer our future together." But then came her father's voice like thunder, powerful and decisive. "And what about tradition? What about loyalty? You would sully our name, Kira, with this transgression." "No," Kira shot back, righteous fire igniting in her chest. "This union is not a transgression. It challenges tradition in the name of progress. Will you stand against love? Against a child born of hope?" Faced with a council poised between respect and resentment, Jack stepped forward, his voice rich like velvet, yet carrying the weight of 1,000 battles fought in silence. "This child is not just a bridge, she is a beacon. A future that intertwines our destinies, and we can either nurture that light or consign ourselves to darkness. The fight is no longer against one another, but for our survival in a galaxy rife with conflict." He paused, assessing the assembly, letting his words settle. "If we let fear control us, we risk being obliterated, merely a memory scattered among the stars. Will you join us in carving a future where love overcomes all barriers?" The silence that followed felt electric, draped in palpable tension. Kira felt every gaze on them, the scrutiny of dozens weighing heavily. Her father's face was a mask of conflicting emotions: pride, fear, love, and disbelief all battling within. Would he side with the traditions, or would he see what lay before him, the possibility of something that could light the darkness? "Kira," he spoke at last, his voice shaking slightly, "your heart longs for change, but our legacy—" "I dream of our legacy being reborn," she interjected fiercely, through compassion and connection. "I dream of a future where no axin will fear loss over love, where we embrace those who are different. Are we not a culture rich with tales of heroes who defied dire odds? Why can't we be the heroes in our own story?" Jack stood beside her, radiating a quiet strength, grounding Kira in the tumult. Their hands still united, they formed an unbreakable circle of defiance before those who would shatter them apart. The crowd stirred, divided faces expressing a spectrum of bewilderment and contemplation. Kira's heart raced, echoes of their past clashing with dreams of the future, weaving narratives entwined with hope and fear. Together, they stood on the precipice of a pivotal moment, and the world around them seemed to hold its breath. As night deepened and the first stars blinked alive in the eternal darkness, Kira's eyes sparkled with resolve, taking in the collective energy of those who would decide their fate. She understood then, it was not merely her or Jack alone who would alter their course, it was every soul present in that arena. Tomorrow, Kira said thoughtfully, her voice ringing clear, when the suns rise anew, we will gather again. We will share our hope. We will birth a new story, a narrative about unity within love. Axin and human will combine to create something magnificent. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.